Hey guys, and welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Coggins and guest.
Introduce yourself, Chris.
Chris Huisman. I am the Senior Concept and Design Manager for Tomy International.
That's where I saw your face for I interviewed you in Vegas in 4K, and it was a great. Oh, I remember now. I'd stare at your face for a day when editing. That was a good interview.
Yeah,
We learned a lot of good stuff.
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, we already, like Sam just said, we already did an interview with him in Vegas for the Refit Enterprise from Tomy, which will be being delivered later this year, which is awesome. And they recently announced a new thing, which is a D7, a TOS D7. Two versions, actually. Now, I want to ask, I know there was a survey sent out. Was the choice to pick this one the result of that survey, or did you guys already kind of have it in your back of your head?
It was more. It's strange, but and it's going to be hard to believe. But I believe the survey went out as a D7, the USS Reliant, and also I think the Enterprise D.
Yeah.
And it was, honest to God, it was a three-way tie. I mean, it was so like a percentage off of each one, and the D7 kind of squeaked by. So we kind of went with that.
Did that surprise you? Those are very famous ships, and to have a potentially more niche ship winning, was that a surprise?
Not really, because at Vegas and some of the online chatter that we'd seen in some of the different various uh, social media groups and whatever, those three kind of always stuck out as the most popular, or at least what people were thinking they wanted to see next. Possibly it made sense to do it, kind of as a complementary piece to the first Enterprise that we did. It's an adversarial ship. I think next year or the year after, we'll do a USS Reliant or maybe even do the D. I'm not sure yet.
Would the D be in 350 scale? Because that'd be like 6 feet long.
It would be way too long. We'd have to make, like, I don't even know if we'd ever get it back.
You're actually thinking 350 scale? I mean, when we talked to you in Vegas, you said you guys have kind of been rolling around the idea of having like a release every year or so
Yeah,
of 350 scale ships. So if you did do an Enterprise D, I can imagine it being like 36 inches long, but like that's 1/1500 scale or something like that.
right. Yeah, it would have to be something along that, only for more or less just for manufacturability, first of all, and then also where is somebody going to even display it at their house? They can hang it on the wall maybe, but if you did it all die cast, it would probably weigh a couple hundred
Ooh.
pounds. I don't even know.
Yeah.
So it'll end up being, just for all practicality reasons, it'll end up being 36 inches long, maybe a little bit longer, but not much more.
Did you have any inkling? As I said, when I talked to you in Vegas, you gave certain answers. Was there any pre-prep towards those three? So when you're talking to us, you already had like started work on D7 in some form, or was it very much like a straight start, the pull went out and boom, you started? Or when you talked to us, did you kind of know this was the next one?
Yes and no. So we had been gathering based upon the earlier chatter that we had seen online and from people at Vegas that had personally said, "Hey, I'd love to see this ship or that ship." We, there was we had done some preliminary stuff on like just research on the D7, the Reliant, and also the Enterprise D, just in the event that one of those ended up being the next one. So we do have a lot of reference material for all three. So
Now, is Gary Kerr and Matthew Cushman helping with this one as well?
absolutely, yeah, they're integral to all of this. So Gary Kerr and Carl Tate and Glenn Swanson and Matthew Cushman were they're basically my two main guys on all of this, and we have group chats nonstop, and we have arguments and discussions and about everything, and it's all civil and cordial, and it's all in the hopes of making the coolest replica that we could possibly do. Matt Cushman and Gary Kerr both designed I think it was more Matt, but designed the little shuttlecraft, the Klingon shuttlecraft that'll come with it.
Mm.
And then Matt Cushman is also doing an exclusive D7 cutaway poster that'll be included with this. So, and we're also including a really cool, this will be remote controlled, which looks like a Klingon communicator that saw very little screen time, but it's kind of one of those things where it made the most sense to do it, so why not?
We will get into that, don't worry, because Stuart's eyes lit up. These miniatures do exist still in some form. were you able to see the original D7, one of the film miniatures? I mean, surely that's the golden goose of like, well, here it is. Let's just scan it, clone it in a nice way. Boom, here it is.
No. I've been trying to get a hold of. I've been trying to get a hold of where both the small filming model is and the large one, where they're located, and it was impossible to get access to them. Fortunately, we were able to find, not me personally, but Gary is a treasure trove of information. Carl Tate is even some of the stuff that he has is I don't even know where he gets it from, but it's crazy. So between those two and the rest of the gang, we were able to figure out what's the most accurate D7 replica that we could make.
I've seen the pictures of it, in museums. I mean, obviously they're old pictures, but this thing was out in display for the public, and museums are surely either loaned by private collectors, which their paperwork. So it was just a case of just the paperwork ran dry and no one knew who owned them still, or you just literally were said no, you couldn't access.
The small, I think the small filming version is located at the Museum of Pop Culture, and it was really hard to get to gain audience with the curator there to get to go in there. But it's been well documented, that one. And then also the large filming model it's at the Smithsonian, but it's stored away in their basement because it's in pieces. They had loaned it to, back when they were filming the motion picture, they had loaned it to whoever filmed it, and for whatever reason it was mangled and cut up and who knows what, and it came back in pieces. And nobody's, as far as I know, there are no plans to reassemble it.
The reason I mention that is because some people in the audience might say, well, these things obviously exist. You could literally go to the Katinga and just one-to-one it, but reality doesn't always allow you to do such what would seem like an obvious thing, especially if you're licensed, but sometimes you just can't.
Right. No, that's exactly right. We couldn't, there was no way to get to gain out, like I said, to get a hold of the filming miniatures.
I've heard a lot of comments online saying, why wouldn't you do the Katinga? It's much more detailed. You just did the refit. It would be the perfect match. Is there any plans perhaps to do a Katinga in the future based on this one?
Sure. Yeah, there's no reason why we wouldn't. Again, this is all based on the polling that we did with the backers and the fans. It didn't rank up as high. So, I mean, ultimately, I'd love to do it because, I mean, with all the hull plating and just the level of detail that's on it, would be great.
Because we all want to recreate that bridge shot with all those little tiny squares. There's a lot of tiny squares, very in 4K. It's like, God, that took a lot of time to make, I'm sure.
And you need three Katingas. You can just put them in formation, like in the motion picture.
It's a special 3 bundle. Buy 3, get 50% off. Or off 1, there we go, buy 3. Recreate the scene.
It'd be cool. You can get one of those, I don't know, I think they make them, but I think they used them in, I think it was TNG, where, where the Borg have their little, where they go to recharge, and they have that big spinning thing that the lightning bolts just shoot out. It'd be cool. Yeah, there you go. Imagine having a Katinga with that in the background, right? It'd be cool.
Yeah, I've filmed some of my models in front of this, actually. So,
I mean, I suppose it would be somewhat easy just to make a new render of the Vidra front cloud, and then pack that up and then sell that as like an add-on. So yes, you can just display it, and then you can have that. Yeah, you could do that.
It would be cool. It would be cool.
As I said in my one video talking about this, it is quite a large footprint, as are the other ones. And if somebody's going to collect these, which I've got the TOS one,
we hope they do. They're great.
Hopefully I'll be getting this one. I'd mentioned it would be cool to have a wall mount, because when I went to see the models at the Henry Ford Museum, they were mounted on a wall, which was really fantastic, because it's a great piece for that because of its profile, like its size. Is that something you guys are thinking about doing?
We aren't for the D7, but I think for future releases we will, only because it's been more and more requested. That we do something like that. The issue really is it's made of die cast, right? And so it weighs substantially more than if it were plastic or resin. It would have to take a bit of engineering, which is not it's totally feasible. But at this stage for the D7, it's not we're not able to do it. But in the future, definitely we'll think about it.
The other thing is there are 2 versions: the concept version and the filming miniature version. You're making both based on pre-orders, or are you just picking one based on?
This has been a question.
No, it's for clarification purposes, it's basically once we reach the minimum of our goal, It basically covers both. So let's just say, for the sake of discussion, that if our minimum goal is, I don't even remember, 3,000 pieces or something like that, and we get combined orders of both that surpasses 3,000 pieces, we will do both. Because whether it's, let's just say the all gray version gets 3,200 orders, and then the two-tone only gets like 700 per se. We would still end up doing both, because to change out, to basically switch out the production line at the factory level is very minimal. Because it really, there's no difference between the two except for the two, the added color. So we'll do both regardless. If we meet the minimum, the combined total minimum, we'll definitely make both of them.
And how early in the process was that idea had? Because it's quite a fun, unusual thing to do that, yeah,
It was, we kind of kicked it around from the beginning. It was me and my four guys, Gary, Glenn, Matt, Carl. We were all talking about if we could do variants on it, and how we would be able to do that. And so we're talking to the factory and conversing with them. We figured out a way that it'll be fine to do. There were other, we talked about doing other variations as well, but I think it just become too convoluted, and just kind of muddy the waters, like doing a Romulan version, which nobody, I don't think there's not too many people wanted it. I wanted one.
I would,
but I hear you. So
I mean, you could also just offer. I mean, you could do anything. You could offer a stencil as a little, $10 add-on. So at least it's got the bottom has the,
yeah,
for the minimalist who just wants the undershot.
We're not doing it this time around, but maybe in the future. I don't know.
So I could see, especially knowing the quality of you guys, knowing you like to throw in extras, I could see literally saying little add-on bundles like on Indiegogo. Sometimes have the upsell where you could do $50 extra for a little extra. This, I could see this being a very thing that fans would absolutely love, like the Communicator, right? Like that is an add-on, but you've included it. It feels like, which is tremendous.
Yeah, we aren't doing it for the D7 this time around, but maybe in the future, or maybe somebody will come up with a decal set that they can order. I mean, I think somebody actually may offer a Romulan, the eagle markings, or as a decal set, garage kit D7.
Speaking of the Communicator, first of all, it's a great addition to see a Klingon one that's like 1-to-1 scale, which is awesome. But each of these ones are getting better. Like the TOS one, you had the batteries. Then the refit is plug-in. Now this one's plug-in, plus you got a remote. And a lot of people missed out on the TOS one for whatever reason. So there's been talk about, are they going to make another TOS one? Is there?
And and bought to other parts of the world. My dad would like one, but UK.
Yeah. But is there a possibility of going back and doing a TOS that's plugged in, powered with a remote?
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes and no. Yes and no. We would have to. So as advertised when we first did the first TOS one, or the TOS one, the molds were destroyed. So we'd have to start from scratch on that, which isn't a big deal. We could still, we could still do that if there was enough interest in it. So we're kicking around a couple of different ideas of possible ways to do that. It's not out of the realm of possibility. We'll put it that way.
And then what sparked the remote control idea? Because it's a very clever yet somewhat simple idea, if you know what I mean, as a design.
Yeah, I think that'll probably be the standard going forward, with Star Trek, at least, to do especially such large scale models that people put in a display case of sorts, that it would just make sense to do a remote to control different light effects and turning on and off, as simple as that.
And I suppose for let's say a future Voyager, it just needs to be a pad, a small touchscreen pad. It can be that simple, which just has a static display as well. For just
it could just be an app on your phone, a Tomy app. You can
that's boring. That's boring. Pad, Stuart, come on.
It could be, maybe it's just an interactive Janeway mug. I don't know.
Sip coffee and press buttons.
Yeah.
And one thing I pointed out as well when I was looking at these images, like a lot of people, if they want to be completionists, they have to get both, right? Which is quite costly.
Quite crazy. We love them.
Yeah. But the green spotlights you put in the base are awesome, because if you do get just the gray one, you turn those on, it kind of gives that look of the bottom being a different color anyway. So I just thought that was a really great touch to do that. And I don't know
That was very deliberate.
Okay, I was just gonna ask if that was planned. So
Because that's how they filmed it. You know, when they painted the filming miniature all gray, they had to do that because the green that was on it was kind of messing with the blue screen filming effect behind it. It was leaving like they called it like a blue, called it something, a blue tinge or blue hue. I don't know, to make it look two-tone. They painted the whole thing gray and then just underlit it. That's what we wanted to replicate with this. And you know, to do both versions of it, it was again, it wasn't originally the plan, but the more that we talked about it, the more it made sense to offer it both ways. Because if you look at modelers, like model makers that do these, they make them both ways. Some people prefer one way and some people prefer the other. And so we thought if we can just offer it in both ways, why not?
And it's not the same parallel exactly, but that would imply that if and when you do a Stargazer constellation, you might offer the gold as a variant because it could just be the full gold reprint. Look at his little smile. He's like, I thought of that. That's the smile I saw.
Sure.
I really appreciate the shuttles because they do invoke the Matt Jeffries original shuttle design. So
inspired,
you said Matt Cushman designed those, so good on him. I'm good friends with Matt Cushman. And, he's quite a creative guy. So it kind of it's invocative of the bird of prey as well with the wings. So I got to give him kudos to that. So
yeah, there was a lot of thought between Matt and Gary, and I think Carl had his say as well, and I'm sure Glenn did too. But between it was mostly Matt driving the bus on that,
but not off a cliff. So
but
that's
not
good.
off the cliff. No, I think they turned out. I think they turned out really good. I think the design's pretty cool.
Is there a particular reason? I just think just practicality that the shuttle bay is a slide out, not that you can't remove the door, because I would assume that you'd want it to be seen cannon configuration, not as a display piece configuration. Is there a reason why you couldn't do both?
It'll include both doors. They basically slide on and off, so that way if you want to display it with the door shut, you can. If you want to display it with the door open, you can. So you can kind of see inside as if there were a force field, keeping everybody alive in there. And that's the main reason. And actually, the
Both
hangar
is
bay
good.
is a little bit,
Yeah,
would be a little more lit up than what you see in pictures. The model that you've seen is kind of it's an early rendition of it, and so it's not 100% perfect. It was made with the information that we had at the time, and it was constantly being updated. So,
or can you call out those that are very, very minutia based? What elements on this design that you know are wrong, are less good, that you are already fixed? What can you call out some specific bits that fans might say they already thought this and you're like, nope, already fixed.
I know that some of the design elements on the nacelles, the details a little bit different. Actually, the two models that we have that we'll be displaying at Vegas, they are slightly different one to the other because one model was started first, and then as changes were made, I had them change to the second model that was being created. There's some elements in the hangar bay that aren't accurate. There are some elements, if you look at the two models side by side, the access boom to the command pod, some of the window shapes are a little bit different. Some of the vectored angles actually from on the nacelle pylons are different from one to the other. And there's a small laundry list of things that have to change to the final product. They're not super noticeable, but if you ask Carl Tate, he'll tell you they're way different. He's a stickler for detail, and so is Gary. Actually, they all are. So, which is good because the last thing I want to do is release something that the fans absolutely hate.
As for lighting modes, you guys say that there's 3 lighting modes. I'm curious what they are.
So basically, mode 1 is classic TV, which there are no lights on, right? So it's simple.
I was gonna say it's nothing.
But the base will light up so that it'll still give the underglow, right?
Yes.
Mode 2 is more of an enhanced, kind of like like the remastered version of it that you saw on DS9, maybe DS9. Yeah. And then the third mode is a little more dynamic, as if you could do anything to this within canon reason, what would you do? And basically, it's just the way that the main sensor it lights up to use. Many people, obviously, the D7 is more like a precursor to the Katinga, right? And the Katinga uses the main sensor as a weapon. They use it as a weaponized plasma emitter of some kind. We kind of enhanced the way that the lights on on that main sensor light up. As if it were a weapon somebody had figured out, reconfigured the main sensor to become a weapon. And also the disruptors are a little bit different. Um, Other than that, oh, also I think mode two, the lights that are on, like the nav marking lights, they are, if I recall correctly, they are very static, right? They just stay on. They're like red and green and white, wherever they're located. But on mode three, they will actually blink. They would strobe as if they were, like on the Enterprise or any other ship. They would actually blink as if it were kind of rethought, as if it were made today with those, they would probably light up. So,
Yeah.
and with the remote and also the control buttons on the base, you can actually customize each mode. Where if you don't want the lights to blink or you don't want them on, you can just turn them off. Yeah, so it's very customizable, and you can kind of do whatever you need to do to it to be as happy as you can be with it.
And you can do all that with 3 buttons on the Klingon remote because it's 60s.
Yeah.
You actually addressed my follow-up question, which was the torpedo launcher, which is actually a deflector on the D7. So I'm glad you guys are aware of that. But yeah, I saw you had it lit up in your video, and I kind of went, "Oh no," because I've got the Franklin Mint one where it's clearly a deflector, as it should be for back then. But
Right. So again, that was one of the questions, and one of the things that we kicked around as, what are we going to call this, or what are we even going to use it as? And so the consensus was, let's just rewrite the programming into it to make it customizable. You can do whatever you want with it.
that's great.
The classic have your cake and eat it too approach.
So in the latest video that you released, you have the communicator and you hear it open, and it's the TOS Starfleet communicator sound. Does it actually make that sound when it opens?
Yeah.
And is that the correct sound for it? Because why would Klingons have the same sound as the Federation? I'm just saying.
That's a good question. That was the consensus of the four guys, that it should, just because it's recognizable, and it could be like just a standard across whatever, as if maybe the Klingons stole the tech from the Federation or whatever. I don't know. I wanted to have it where you would maybe, you'd open it up and you would hear some Klingon voice on the other end, asking like what's going on, or something. And then I thought, well, that's good. We thought that would be a little too cheesy, but so in the end, we went with the just the classic communicator sounds.
Dare I suggest the Klingon communicator sound from Star Trek 3? It's a very unique, nice sound.
We thought about that.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, we did think we thought about that, and we opted not to. Just basically because up until then you never heard the sound of it, and
Yeah.
and it could go either way. But at this stage, I think we're probably going to stick with the classic communicator sounds.
You must hate my videos because I say all these things they should have, they could have, and you're like, we did think about that. We did talk about that.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind, constructive criticism or even suggestions, because obviously I'm not the hugest Star Trek fan in the world, and you guys are. And so I've always had the attitude where I'm not making it for me. I'm making it for you guys. And so the more input I get from everybody, which is why I chose, or they were graciously agreed to. But Gary, Carl, Glenn, Matt, because they're the ones that know a lot. They're great. And so again, I'm making it for. I always try to make it for the fans and not for me, because I'm more of a. I like all sci-fi, to be honest, but I want you guys to be happy with it.
And I want to preface this, Stuart. I love you, Stuart. You know I do. Okay, but people like Stuart, you give them a communicator and shuttles and a shuttle bay, and yet he asks for another sound. He keeps asking for more. How does that feel? Because you've done so much extra in this. It's fair to say this is kind of over above, and yet some people, where is he? I don't know. Probably over there. He wants more. How does that feel? Because that must be a thing you get a lot, right? You can't do everything when people
Can't
keep
make
thinking of
everyone
new
happy.
things.
Yeah, I mean, we try to within reason, and you can only do so much. And so, when it starts to be too much, or too late in the process or whatever, you just politely have to say, this is it. This is what you're getting. And I think, in the end, I think, majority of the crowd will be very happy with it.
Yeah, you got to keep the price at the same price point that you want. So you could do all these other things, but then it just keeps sticking up, right? So
Yeah, and we're obviously with this one, the SRP on it is the same as it was on the refit. There's many reasons why why the price stayed that way, but we wanted to include we wanted to plus it up so that way you felt like you were getting your money's worth out of it compared to the other ones.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I want to double back to the so you obviously did the poll, you did the refit of the TOS Enterprise first. When this was picked as the final, the D7 is a famously undetailed ship. It's relatively plain. So going from an excruciatingly intricate paint scheme, if you're doing it like to the nth degree, ship with all these extra things, and then going to this, how did that feel to, in theory, have a fourth of the work of the R&D? Like, it's a much simpler ship. Does that actively make you take a sigh of relief because it's going to be an easier year? You can do it quicker, you can deliver it quicker, it can be obviously cheaper, or is for some reason that we don't understand as not diecast makers, even though they are radically simpler designs, you're actually putting in roughly the same amount of effort. Talk to fans about that because it is a lot simpler. And
Yeah, I know what you're saying. To be honest, the refit has been a labor of love. It's been rife with challenges, and so the D7 will be a little bit easier of a walk in the park. There's still some things that we have to keep an eye out for. Yeah, in terms of detail, especially the decoration. The refit was probably the most complicated. I've been in doing diecast replicas and toys for nearly 28 years, 29 years. And this is probably the most complicated thing I've ever worked on or seen, especially with the effects of the refit. So that being said, yes, the D7 will be a lot simpler. It'll still take, plenty of care and babysitting along the way, but it's definitely a little bit easier.
would that mean that because it is logistically simpler, it'll take less time to produce and therefore it should come out significantly quicker than the production time of the refit?
That's hard to say. In theory, sure. You never know what's going to happen when it comes to when you start to get to production delays or this or that or tariffs, for example, or who knows what. So in theory, yeah, it'll maybe ship earlier. I wouldn't count on it, but because we have a schedule and the factory adheres to the same schedule
I
as
don't
as
mean
we do.
earlier than you expected, but like taking less time than the refit, and therefore to the audience it feels like you've released a model quicker. I mean that sort of.
I mean, it could. Like I said, I think the production schedule is right now. We don't know how many pieces are being made, and part of the reason that the refit is a little bit delayed is because there's so many pieces of it, and there's several factors as to why. But in theory, yeah, sure, the D7 should take less time to produce.
What's the turnaround time from concept to finished? Like, are you already working on your next one? Do you have an idea?
I was thinking, what's the next one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
We
exactly.
have idea. Yeah, we definitely have a pretty solid idea of what's coming next, and possible other offerings as well that won't necessarily be campaign based. That being said, there are two or three that are kind of in the running as to what we're doing, and I can't divulge any more information on that, but
That's fair.
we're poised and ready to go to the next one.
If you were doing an enterprise D in the next 10 years, if if uh, knowing the research you pre-did, which you've already confirmed, which is all good, how difficult do you think that would be at whatever scale you choose to do compared to the refit? Because obviously they are both intricate in different ways and both loved in different ways. How differently difficult do you think that would be if and when you do that in the next 10 years, let's say?
It's a good question. If we were to do it at like 36 inches or 34 inches long, there's tons of detail on that. So we would try to make it as detailed as possible. I mean, you saw the amount of detail that went into the refit. It would be comparable to that, if not more so.
Do you think because it's a bigger ship, therefore the details are naturally smaller, that you can get away is the wrong word, but you could have a larger list of can make paint versus detail versus the refit, where obviously it's a smaller ship, things have to be physical. Does that make it easier?
Maybe. I mean, but even at 34 inches, the saucer is going to be pretty large, right? And so you'll have plenty of deco to add to that. That it would be, I don't want to say it would be easier, but it will be challenging. But I think we could pull it off.
And I guess there's more reference because Andy did very detailed,
Oh yeah.
Mm.
like it's very refit as many people over many years kind of thing. And that's like Matt Andy's got he knows
Right.
the dimensions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, a lot of the reference material that we get from Paramount, there's quite a bit from for the Enterprise D, compared to, like, say, the refit, which they almost have no reference to. I'm looking forward to interacting with everybody at Vegas. I think last year was it was a long show, but it was I really have a good time when people are passionate about something and they're really into it and they want to know everything possibly they can and share their passions. I actually enjoy speaking with everybody about it, regardless of how obscure what they're talking about is. I'm always amazed by who stops by and what they know and what they want and what they would love to see. Stories of that they tell me of, like, when they were a kid watching Star Trek with their dad, or the first Star Trek thing they ever got, or whatever. Or even, it doesn't matter. I don't remember how long the show was. Was it 4.5 days? But it was, was my body aching and tired? Yeah, but it was. It was the highlight for me was meeting everybody that came by and talking to them and trying to answer their questions, or at least hearing their stories, because everybody's got a story to tell, and I think it's important that somewhere, somehow, they let their voice be heard.
And also, one of the genuine highlights of that show was actually walking to your table, your area, and then one of the people came to you and said, "We've just gone over the limit." So you were there the second you hit your goal on the first full day, and we were there to capture and interviewed you within seconds. That was a real highlight because we knew what that meant to you, and a bit of Trek history right there. So you just hit your goal. How do you feel?
Awesome.
Yeah.
There are no words.
101. In how many hours?
5.
5 hours.
5 hours.
Hit the goal in 5 hours.
Was there a guess that might happen, or was this kind of blown expectations away?
I didn't expect. I thought maybe by the end of the day. I didn't think in 5 hours.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, we know.
And actually, even our IT department wasn't expecting that, because they crashed the system over and over and over. And that's the thing. Unfortunately, the everybody eventually got through or got their orders in. The good news was that the campaign ran for 4 weeks, so there was no way you were not going to get your order. It just happened that, like, literally thousands of people were trying to place their order at the exact same minute.
I placed mine as soon as I woke up that morning in the hotel room.
Yeah, so I think we're poised and ready for that to happen again. We'll cross our fingers and see what happens.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris, for joining us and talking about the D7 and just Tomy in general. We appreciate it.
I'm more excited.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll say.
Cool. I'm glad to hear that. That makes me feel good. And if you have any questions or whatever, you can reach out to us through the Facebook group. You can reach out to our customer service. They usually, any question they can't answer, they'll redirect to me. So again, whatever you need, let me know.
Awesome. Well, you heard it here first, guys. Thank you for watching, and thank you, Chris, for joining us again. And
my pleasure.
We will see you guys next time. Kapla.
Bye,
everybody.
Bye, guys.